All right, so welcome to the Fatherly Tales podcast. This is where we explore where fathers can learn to grow and become stronger, more present, and connected with their children, and especially for children that are maybe more sensitive and empathic, and they may need a different kind of support that maybe dads were not aware of when they were growing up. So today I am very excited to have Jolie Glassman with me. She is the owner of South Beach Boxing Gym in Miami, Florida. She is the author of Life According to the Rules of Boxing, 101 Rules to Being the Champion of Your Own Life. She has another book as well, I think she's going to tell me about. She's also a transformational coach with over 30 years of experience. She has a children's charity, which I believe is Jolie's Kids, and so many other accolades and qualifications on her website, actually, that I couldn't actually list them all. I would be sitting here talking for ages if I did that. So, Jolie, thanks for being here. Just wondered if you could share a little bit about your journey, how you built your gym, and what inspired you to blend boxing with teaching and also personal development. Yeah.
So thank you for that intro and my journey. So my journey is, I guess, is everyone's journey a long explanation? I
Yeah.
started as a chemistry major. I was supposed to be a doctor. So back in the day, I ran away very young from home. I didn't get along with my mom. My dad died when I was two. I always say I'm the product of an old rich man that marries a young hot woman. They were 31 years apart. And my mom just wasn't equipped to be a parent. That you learn that everyone's doing the best they can with what they have. So she didn't have much to do better. And I ran away at 15. I remember I was finishing my chemistry degree and I went to the guidance counselor and I was like, there's no way I am going to 4 more years of school. I got to get out. I'm running away. Da da da. I was telling him my whole life, I need to get a job, and you can't get a job with a chemistry degree. So she was like, oh, there's this teaching and it's a 2 year scholarship and you got to teach 2 years extra free, but it's a scholarship and you won't pay. I'm like, I don't care what it is, I'll do it. So I guess out of desperation, I found my calling, I guess I would say, and which was teaching. So my calling was teaching. It was a program called Focus for our children in urban settings. And back then, which was the early 90s, so it's 35 years ago, at risk youth was a small group. Now everyone's at risk youth. So I had the alternative ed and the problem children, so-called problem children. They weren't really a problem for me, which is why that was my calling. And I had classrooms of them, those kids. So they were my favorite. I learned to do what I love. So I learned that I was good at that and not everybody else was good at that. So I was like, oh, I'm onto something. Let me keep doing what I'm good at, that nobody else is good. See, I always tell people to do that. Like, find out what you're good at that's easy, that you could keep doing, that seems like it's so easy for you, but not for others. So I was very clear that that was something that was easy for me, hence a skill, a talent. And it was super hard for others. So when my journey, I was teaching and it's not good pay. So I was a fitness instructor after school. So I always did teaching and fitness, and I was a bartender on the weekends. And this is almost 40 years ago. I mean, 30, 35 plus years ago. So then, let's see, I met my husband when I was 21, who was from England. And he was like, well, that was another journey with it, that I was on meds, because that's another part of my journey of health and wellness, that I was on antidepressant meds. But you asked me how I got into the gym. So
Yeah.
I kept teaching, and I kept teaching aerobics. And he, being from England, he was going to open an English pub, a bowling alley, or a boxing gym. He wanted to put money into the American economy so he can get what's it called, your papers.
Hmm.
So I said, oh, a boxing gym. I just heard gym. I didn't even hear boxing. I didn't even know what boxing was. But the beautiful thing, and why I say God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And I know I was always being qualified for my calling, which was boxing. I was always teaching boxing. That was my secret sauce, because they'd say, how does this little white girl get the kids in order? I had reverse discrimination. I was in all black schools. I was the only white girl in all black schools. And I would say, oh, I let them fight one on one. No one jumps in. I move the chairs and I facilitate their fighting, because the kids would be like, what? And the best thing to do for kids is shock them. And then they shut up and listen. So I'd be like, oh, yeah, I'm going to let you fight. No one's going to jump in. I'm going to move the chairs. So then years down the road, when my husband was like, boxing gym, bowling alley, English pub, I was just gym. I didn't even say like, oh, boxing. I didn't correlate what I was doing to boxing. So there went my journey. So I go in this boxing gym where he opened and I'm still teaching. And then, of course, everyone has a plan so they get hit in the face. I was not the type to get hit in the face. So I probably wouldn't have gone back knowing but since it was mine, I went back after the first time I got hit in the face. And I didn't still associate that what I was doing in the schools was this punch that I got in the face. And then as time went on, after the first 2 years, he was like, you need to quit teaching. I want to go open a bunch more gyms. I didn't want to quit teaching. Teaching was my calling. I wanted to be a principal. I wanted to run schools. I wanted to own schools. Teaching was it. So anyway, time went on. We opened more gyms. I quit teaching in 2001 and then stayed and ran my South Beach gym. And that's how I really got to meld it all together. But when we got divorced in 2007, he got them all, and I led for something called the Landmark Forum. So I became a landmark. I was leading introductions in people's houses. And then I got my South Beach gym back, and I realized I got to run the gym my way. So I turned it into like loads of kids. I mean, everything is about kids for me. So anti-bully kids. I have a big kids charity. I have a big kids program. And then, like you said, how did you get this? What's your journey? So you write when you do what you love and you find out what you're good at and you keep accumulating everything you love and everything you're good at and you move that over here and you take out what doesn't work, like carving out the Michelangelo, and you take out what you're not good at and you keep putting in what you are good at. And then I had the Landmark Forum, which was transferring 150 lives in 3 days, and the school system that is so beyond, like, you can't even get me. I could talk to you for 5 days on that. It's so terrible, where I was like, I'm going to run school my way. So I know my next journey and my next venture is going to be either 10, 15 acres of camp and schools and all focused of kids. I haven't decided I'm going to do it if I'm just going to do 2 to 6 at the school with all kids, but I want kids in sports and movement all day. They should always be in movement. Kids should never not be moving. They shouldn't be sitting still. Sitting is the new smoking.
Yeah.
So they're on my journey, and I keep adding to it, right? I'm like, oh, I'm good at this. I'm going to keep adding to it. So people are always like, wow, how'd you have Muhammad Ali? How'd you have Mike Tyson? How'd you have all that? I stay in action, and I've been on the same path for almost 40 years now. In 3 years, it'll be 40 years. So that's how I do it, because I'm never veering off what I do. I never did anything different other than this fitness, wellness, and health journey. And I always stay my track, and boxing will always be my metaphor, because it's fighting in life. You never see a motivational video on YouTube without seeing a boxing scene, because boxers are heroes and champions and no one's coming to save them, and it's one-on-one. And when people hear boxing, they think like, oh, fighting, and they're just fighting. And I did too. And they are fighting. That is their job and that is their career, but they come from adversity and they needed to put food on their table. So they fought to put food on their table. And that was my life, where I came from adversity. So I did my NLP master practitioner license as well with Richard Bandler, who created NLP. And most people in life that are successful or move toward, like, that's what the secret is. You ask for what you want, not what you don't want, because the universe doesn't recognize what you don't want as don't. It recognizes it as do. So I was a move away from, like anyone, from adversity, which isn't the desirable way, but it was the way that worked for me, where I was like, I don't want to be homeless. I don't want to be fat. I don't want to be weak. I don't want to, right? I did everything everything my mom did, I wanted to do the opposite, right? But because I was a move away from adversity, that's where I crashed against. When you try so hard to not be something, you become it, right? So I did
Yeah,
a
you
lot
tracked it.
of work on myself
Yeah.
to for homeostasis, really, for balance, for stability, for non-reaction. So my journey was so long to be able to get that. Like, I had a motorcycle accident, I split my head open, herniated 11 discs, so I needed to learn the spirit component and the relaxing component and everything it takes to heal. So, I think the hardest thing in life is someone's like, how do I lose weight? How do I get in shape? Everyone wants that one answer to do something, and it's everything. So then I say I go back to my origination of what I did, which is early childhood development. That was my degree after chemistry, which is my master's is putting higher order thinking in early childhood years. That was my thesis for behavior modification. But you really get that it's phonics versus whole language. So yes, you can have the one thing to do to change your life. Maybe you take out the soda or you take out the junk. So it'll fix things for a little bit, but then it's all going to be disheveled again, because it's phonics. You need everything. You need the parts and you need the whole. Just like early childhood development for language. They took out phonics, they put in whole language. You need the phonics. So you need the parts to the whole. And the point of what I'm saying is everything matters. Everything matters and nothing doesn't matter. So how you do one thing is how you do everything, and that's how I live my life. So I'm constantly attacking more and more health and fitness and learning and learning and learning.
Yeah, I see elements. I mean, I follow you on Instagram. I think I found you through Layla Sentner actually, and
Oh, how do you know
yeah,
her?
I did some video editing for her a few years back when she was.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a
oh,
different
good for
story.
you.
But yeah, that's
Yeah,
kind of I think that's kind of how I came towards you, and I got to see a lot of her school because I was editing videos. I got to see a lot of what was going on behind closed doors, and it was so incredible. I actually had tears.
yeah.
I remember because I have a daughter as well, so I remember watching that and just being so moved by the togetherness of all the kids there, and the fact that they were being taught to think for themselves was huge. And they had things like sound bowl healing and meditations, and everything was about joy and happiness, and so it's such an amazing thing. And I think that's actually kind of how I found you. And what I was going to mention actually is that you brought up like very briefly there a bit about spirituality, which for me was something that really helped me through injuries and illness and stuff as well. So it's not common though, from when I look around at boxing and sort of martial arts or different sort of fighting sports, that someone brings both those elements at the same time. So from a I guess just your personal opinion on this as well is that from do you see what is like a spiritual element of boxing? Because I know that I'm very interested in helping like empathic and sensitive kids, and they're not always drawn into boxing and sort of things where there's confrontation. But I believe there's a very spiritual element to sort of any sort of fighting arts and combat. So I was just wondering on your sort of your opinion with sort of the elements that you use in your gym that maybe brings a bit of spirituality into your boxing gym.
It's funny, you never see a boxing fight at the end. You never see a boxer not say, "I want to thank Jesus first. I want to thank God first. I want to thank God." They always like thank God first, thank God Jesus first, thank God, and they're always doing that. And then you look at them like, okay, do they, what do they do? What's their spirituality? First of all, athletes are so into superstition, how they sit, how they do this, how they do that. Their fighters are very spiritual, right? Because and athletes are very spiritual for the most part because they have to dig in. They have to dig deep. And when you dig inside and you go inward, you're getting spiritual because it's to know yourself, right? And to know yourself is to know God. And I teach kids, I didn't believe in religion until I meditated. So I teach kids a lot of times I don't really care what the rules are, what the laws are, or what you're supposed to do or what you're not supposed to do. I do whatever I know is right and what makes a difference, and I do what works and not what doesn't work. So I ask them, do you believe in something that's bigger than who you are and that's running the show, that's, and an unlimited intelligence that runs through you and all around you? And a lot of them are confused, and I like to deconfuse them because, we call it he's going to punish, he's going to do this. So I take away the gender to the spirit from the spirit so I can get all the kids to know that it's running through them and all around them. So the spiritual part is that no one's coming to save you, that you're there, you're all alone. So in my book, I write, you're born alone, you die alone, and you're never alone. So what is that never alone that they're tapping into? So I connect them to their heart. So, in heart and brain coherence is everything, right? And
Yeah.
connecting to your heart. And if you really take time to sit and be with your heart, you can't not believe in a higher power.
Totally agree with you. I do. Well, I have it here actually. This M wave. I do heart math, like breath work every day. It's actually the most effective one
Oh,
for me as
great.
well. And
I love it.
it's
Yes.
so amazing. And I sort of encourage my daughter to do it as well. And it's life changing. So to be
Well,
able to
so
teach.
I became a Healy for Joe Dispenza. I also did all Joe Dispenza work. I did his
Oh,
advanced
cool.
follow up and his advanced program, his 7 day and his 4 day. I did them 3 times each. I was living in Joe Dispenza because of my motorcycle accident. So, and that's how I found God. I didn't even know, not found God, but I didn't believe, I wasn't
Hmm.
sure. And I like to teach from where I had the issues, which was like I didn't believe in a God because it was always like he's gonna he. I was like I was so confused on it. So until I learned to tap into my heart and to meditate and to get coherent and to align my brain with my heart, which is heart math, which is great. And it's a practice, right? So people don't get it. They think like when they try it and they can't do it, they're not doing it. And they think if they have thoughts, they're not doing it. So that was such a huge component that I brought in to change my life and the way I teach and everything about my teaching platform because of meditation. Like I never had the
Amazing.
spirit. My whole life I was teaching mind body connection, mind body. And then until my motorcycle accident, until I did Joe Dispenza, the spirit part came in of the breath work and regulating your nervous system and meditation. And really, there's no true health without it. So, and I
Hmm.
never had true health without it. I thought I was healthy, but I was out
Hmm.
training a bad diet. I was in sympathetic nervous system very often, probably all the time. And that's not true health. That wasn't health. So health is
Yeah.
regulated nervous system. For me, if you have a regulated nervous system, you're healthy.
100%. Yeah, I fully agree with you. You can't. Yeah, well, you just even just like whatever end of the spectrum in, you're usually dumping different types of hormones. If you, I mean, if you're super high all the time, you're going to be dumping lots of. You could be pumping out a lot of dopamine and maybe getting addictions to stuff, and then vice versa. If you're very much in sort of the negative side of yourself, then you've got cortisol, adrenaline that's pumping all the time, and some of those can feel amazing, but they're very wearing, and it's, I think, challenging to be a top athlete unless you are in some form of homeostasis. And when you ever, and again, same thing. You see it, I'm sure, all the time because you're around athletes so often. But when they're in this, the zone or the flow state, as they call it, is that's kind of like that really sort of centered space from my perspective, anyway. And so to be able to put
Exactly.
yourself in that, sort of consciously and on purpose is like that's an amazing skill to be able to have.
Isn't it crazy? They like words are so limiting, and I'm such a wordsmith. Being I was an English high school English teacher, but words are so limiting, and we say breath work, and it sounds like, oh, you must be stressed or something, and it's like one word. It's like your whole life around that. So what does
Mm,
that mean? And that's why I always teach people like language is everything, right? So nothing exists without language. That's the premise of the whole Landmark Forum that we communicate through every channel, not just my hand movements, my body language, how I'm looking at you, my eyes, my words. And we need to
mhm.
choose them wisely and be intentional with all of it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I had some, actually, I have one question. This is just in my head because I have seen at your gym, you've had a lot of big names come through your gym. So I just thought it'd be interesting to share some of those names that you've had come through there.
Everyone. Everyone. I mean, Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali's ex-wife. I'm surprised she's not here. She sleeps here like a week every month. Where she's not only like a best friend of mine, she's like my mom, my chosen mom. She would be the
Mm,
mom I would have chosen. So I love Muhammad Ali's ex-wife, Khalila. She wrote the front of my book. Mike
mm,
Tyson, of course, been to my gym many times. He wrote the back of my book. He said, "No one better to have in your corner than me." And then Roberto Duran retired in my gym. All the Camachos together trained in my gym. Bernard Hopkins, Roy Jones. But like, who cares, right? Like people always say, "Oh, that person trained you, that person trained you," and it's cool and all. And yes, they are heroes in their sport and they excel. But so many, to be honest, I think I'll say outside of the kids that are my favorite, Will Smith trained for the Ali movie at my gym. But yeah, a lot of amazing people. Even just the regular people are amazing. I love transforming people's lives. Like I am so blessed to do what I love every day and cry. Like you said, oh, I was crying the other day. Da, da, da. I cry every day. I cry every day. People are like, oh, I did it because of you, or I do it. And I just tear up. Every day I get to
mhm.
cry. It's such a blessing to have a room where I generate amazing energy. It's funny, now that we're having this conversation, before I meditated, I always had the question to ask Tony Robbins how he calms down after he does a workshop, like how he gets calm. And now, just talking to you, I just realized I don't have that issue anymore because I
Mhm.
meditate and because I have a turn down routine. But I always had that issue where I was wired all the time. I was always like
Mhm.
high on life from transforming so many people's lives. It's a beautiful
Yeah,
thing.
it is a beautiful thing. And actually,
Yeah.
on that segue, I actually have some questions on you as well. Actually, so this is gonna a lot of what I want to help is, I mean, everybody, I guess, that can watch it, but I definitely dads and children are really they're very close to my heart, especially kids that are very empathic. And what I noticed with your gym is that you have like I've seen that you have like I've seen like dads and children in there, mums and children. So I like that you bring that in there, and I can tell by looking at some of these kids that some of them are more robust, but some of them are actually gentler kids as well. And I think it's very special to be able to have a place that they feel safe enough to go in there. So I actually have some questions about those sorts of things, and maybe these are things that um, other dads and parents can integrate into their own life to maybe they could use boxing in their own life, or even if it's just at home, if whether it's not in a gym. So um, I'd like to ask you a few on that. And the
Yeah.
first one that came up, because we've talked a bit about emotions, is that It's your opinion. I mean, you're around a lot of people and you see a lot of it. Is that how do you see boxing and physical training supporting emotional resilience? And then sort of the other side of that is like how you've seen that support emotional resilience in kids that maybe are more empathic or more sort of on the sensitive kind of range.
Well, first I want to know, like, I ask a lot of questions. I want to know, like, why are they so sensitive? What's bothering them? When was the last time they were so sensitive? What are their triggers that's creating this sensitivity? Because so many kids
Mm-hmm.
go through this bullying where, or they're
Mm-hmm.
left out, or they're not included, or, something had to happen for them to be like that and to develop that way. So first, everything is the why. Like, what happened? How'd they get there? Um, it's not that we give them this self confidence. It's that we listen to them, and that it's that they get no one's coming to save them, and they're not getting bullied anymore. So, in a community like a gym, it's funny. I always say seek and you find, and seek and you keep seeking. There's a point in time where you got to seek and stop seeking. So, you go to a yoga studio, and often they're bitchy. They're like, moody, bitchy people. You don't really feel comfortable. And well, my experience. And I was like, oh, they're not really, not like my boxing gym where you walk in and everyone's like, hi, let me help you. Let me wrap your hands. Everyone, you walked into the Wizard of Oz when you walk in my gym. Everyone's so kind and helpful. And the people that never walked in a boxing gym are always like, why is everyone so nice in here? And it's because there's grit, there's perseverance. They seek and find. They found, they're done. They're already in the found. They're not seeking, and now they're seeking to go through the pain to get out on the other side. So, and it's also a release, right? It's a stress release. But the main thing is one on one. There's no bullying. And then the listening
Mm-hmm.
and then the voicing that they get to voice themselves and explain what happened. Why are they so sensitive? I make them strong. How you do one thing is how you
Mm-hmm.
do everything. So if they're really sensitive, they probably need some fitness and strength in their life. So you got to push past your limits. Sometimes they're going to cry. We have kids that cry all the time. That's okay. It's just another
Mm-hmm.
emotion. You're going to cry. You're going to keep going.
Yeah, actually, I saw a little video on that's kind of that popped in my head just then. Is that it was a guy doing jujitsu actually, and he was, he's like pushing the child over, pushing, 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 and he kept going up, and he started to cry, and he said, look, he was just trying to get him to. He said, just start naming your emotions. He said, like, it's okay to keep pushing me, but name your emotions at the same time. So he's like, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? And he just by sort of saying, I feel like I can't. He was like, I feel threatened. And he's like, where do you feel it?
Yeah,
I feel it in my
acknowledging
heart.
it. Yeah.
And by doing so, he actually got stronger because I generally am, I feel a lot of emotion a lot of the time. So, but if I am very much in it and I'm fighting it, it zaps my strength. But if you speak about it and just let it flow, it almost creates more energy within you. And it's amazing that you've sort of explained that in a different perspective than maybe how I normally look at it. So that's great.
Well,
So
you
thank you for,
always want to feel the feelings, right? You
yeah.
always want to feel what you're feeling. There's nothing wrong with feeling that way. So a lot of people, like I just heard you say, like, oh, sometimes I get like that sensitive. There's nothing wrong with it. The problem
Yeah, yeah,
is thinking something's wrong with it. So then you think like,
yeah.
oh my God, here I am sad again. And it's like, and then that's weighted, right? So a rule in my
Mm-hmm.
coaching, my group coaching, one of the months I work on is don't make things heavy and significant. So when we weigh on it, we're like, oh, I'm sad again. Here it is. I'm sad. Now you're making a big deal about it, and what we resist persists. So what you're sad
Mm-hmm.
about it? Tell me what you're sad about it. Okay, so be sad. All right, how long are we gonna be sad for? All right, what does sad look like? Okay, I'm sad, right? And we be sad for a little bit, and then it passes.
Mm-hmm.
So you
Yeah.
just let it go through you. It's nothing wrong with it. That's the problem, is that people think there's something wrong with it, so it stays around.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like that flow, as long as it's flowing, it's amazing. It's when you try and put a
Moving.
stopper on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
actually,
it's
on
great.
that
You
side,
wouldn't have happy if you didn't have sad.
yeah, yeah, totally, 100%. Yeah, one doesn't exist without the other. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that comes from kind of your spiritual background as well, right? That's
But
a big
I
element of
love
that.
making kids strong. Even yesterday, I had a
Mm.
kid and he was like, oh, the water cooler's broken. He's 5, he's a baby. And when I got over there, I said, Ollie, it's not broken. You're letting the water flow with no cup underneath, so it's going to flow all over the floor. And you saw he started to get like, and I said, this is nothing to be sad about. This is something to be happy about. Like they didn't make the choice yet because now you figured it out. Now you know to put a
Mm-hmm.
cup under there. So what are you getting sad for? Are you sad because I sound like I'm upset with you? And he was like, I just thought he couldn't manage his words together. I go,
Mm-hmm.
well, this is a happy time because now you know to put your cup underneath, right? It's all about choice. He just didn't realize. And the more you can explain and cater to all the learning styles. Like maybe he saw something, maybe he heard something, maybe he felt something. So I'm going to make sure I cater to all of those senses to get him back on track. Like it's okay to be sad, but this wasn't a sad moment. This is like, oops, not sad. Let me put a cup under the water. So it's not sad. It's like, oh shit, I got to put a cup under there. Let me not let it fill. Sad is not here. Sad is like if you saw a kid like slam his face in the wall and now you're sad because you feel bad for his face. So it's really getting them to recognize the different emotions and when they should feel a different way, because sometimes they get away with it. So if he was sad that time and I let him keep getting sad, and all of a sudden I have a crying kid that he doesn't even know why he's crying. He's just like a cry baby. No, 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 we're not going to cry here. This is not where you be sad. And then he could say, well, my mom took my stuff away. Okay, well, that's sad. What are you going to do about it? What's the next step? It's like walking them through it, turning them
Yeah.
into adulthood. I like to treat kids like adults because there's no archway at 18 where they walk through. And of course, we can do kid stuff, but I'm going to exchange with them and talk to them not like they're a child, not like they're a baby. I get mad at parents. They're like, oh, let me do. I'm like, they're not babies. Don't baby your child. They're going to be 18 acting that way. So, and now this generation, it was so perfect for AI to come out right now because the Z generation's so lost. It's like, it was part of the plan, I guess, for them to be completely lost emotionally, physically, spiritually, all the above. And now AI comes in and it's super smarter than the whole generation. But they haven't learned emotional intelligence, which is super important. So they got away with being babied. So a lot of times when they're sad, it's not even the right emotion. They haven't learned otherwise. They need to be taught and they need to be communicated with and they need to be engaged in and they need to learn emotional intelligence.
Yeah, and a much larger, broader spectrum of all the different idiosyncrasies between emotions and different things. And so, I mean, I think one of the issues, especially for men, I think, is there's within masculinity, it's like they're scared a lot of times to be vulnerable. I think that's kind of it was sort of frowned upon. So, like in your kind of coaching, like how do you help men embrace kind of like both strength and vulnerability? Like how would
It's a
you
big
sort of
deal. You
encourage
know
that?
what? Because
Yeah.
even my employee, he's like, so I have a rule in my book that says you need to mourn. And I tell them, like in the ring, he's really tough. He's like, get up. They'll be crying. He's like, get up. And he's really good. He's just tough. And I'm like the mom, the mother hen. And I come in and I'm like, don't worry, it's okay. And so men are like that. They have that edge where it's like, you can't cry. They collapse with like crying with weakness. And I always say, no, 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 I cry all the time. And everyone thinks I'm like Miss Tough. So I'm like, all right, if you think I'm so tough, I cry every day. So do you think I'm weak because I cry? So dads, they need the work themselves because they don't realize they need to cry too. So I tell my employee and he gets upset. He's like, they don't need to cry. I go, yes, it needs to move through them. Otherwise it gets stuck. So men don't get it because they were taught boys don't cry. Yes, they do. What are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with your sadness? I'm going to show you 10 people right here that cry that are tough and strong. And what does tough mean? And what does strong mean? Right. So I start breaking it down to them because, like I said, there's worlds around words. So maybe tough to them means they stood up in a fight. Maybe tough to someone else means he didn't cry. Maybe, right. So we got to redefine what that word means. And where did you learn that's what tough means? Because that's not what it means. I'm going to redefine it for you. So parents, I don't want them to be so hard on them. And then, like you said, how do you get a dad to say, and how do you get this one to say? I go, okay, well, how's that working for you? Do you like your result of what you just got? Because then we need to change the way you got there. So if they like the result and it works, like get up, don't do it. Cool, and it works, and the kid's like, yes, sorry, I cried. Then great, his way works. Then keep doing it. Keep telling him to get up, don't cry. But if the kid's always like, oh, I'm sorry, I keep crying, he keeps crying, and the dad can't do it, and the dad keeps yelling, and the kid keeps crying, well, the way is not working. You need to switch the way. So
Yeah.
I'm very pragmatic. I do what works. Some people like to get yelled at. That's why I always tell my trainer, ask them. Say, do you want me to tell you or do you want me to listen to you? And you mentioned Layla, they did this conscious discipline thing and they always say, like, did you mean that to be helpful or hurtful? Right. So you always want to ask people what they mean by that. Or did you mean to hurt me by that? Or did you mean to say that? Or what did you mean by that? So teaching kids to communicate effectively where they can ask, did you mean to say that to hurt me? Because that made me feel sad. So using their words. I have a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
girl, she's 4 years old. The mother didn't know what to do with her. And the kid's like, she screams like that. She's 3. So she screamed, Joseph, stop. She starts screaming. I'm like, how does it? The mother puts up with it. I looked at the mom. I said, This is not working. She's not getting her way. And the kids freak out and just give her what she wants, but she thinks if she screams, she gets what she wants. You can't have that. I said, no, Shira, use your words. They're not going to listen to you until you use your words. And I step in on any parenting job. I'm like, I always think I'm like Miss Guru and I don't really care. I just step in. But I'm thinking I wanted to relieve the mom. Like, because, so many parents are like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. Let me just give it to her, Joseph. No, that's not what we're doing here. Take more time to spend it now so you don't have to spend the time later where it's a bigger issue. So you say, no,
Hmm.
that's not how we communicate. That's not how we get what we want. And the next time you scream, you're definitely not getting what you want. So
Yeah.
that's my keys for parenting is consistency, kindness, like no means no. I hate when a parent says I just asked you 3 times. Like that's ridiculous.
Mm.
Don't ask them more than once. You don't want to say I asked you 3 times. I hear from every parent. No, you don't have enough consequences from asking them more than once. You shouldn't. So consistency and kindness. Be kind
Hmm.
and be patient. Speak it all out. Say it all out. Define the rules. My first week of teaching in the classroom, teachers were always giving out stuff, telling me what to do. I didn't care what principals said. I didn't care what they told me to do. I knew the right way of what I was doing. So they say, how does she get her kids in order? Because I spend the time in the beginning letting them know what the rules are. So in the
Mm.
beginning of my class, I get to know them. I let them get to know each other. We know who's in the room, right? How could you expect to tell someone what to do and you don't even know who they are? It's same as like serving people who go, I'm a server. You don't even know what they want. How are you serving them?
Mm.
So it's really just how to get things to work. And then what does that look like? What do I want to work? And
Mm.
that's the brain and heart coherence, right? Because they're working together. You got to use your brain and your heart.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And you can deal with a lot more when you're sitting in your heart space than you can mentally. Like
Yeah,
it's
when
a
you
lot.
tell a kid,
Yeah.
take a deep breath. Okay, we're going to take a deep breath together. Ready? We're going to do another one. And then you get them to calm down. And then you say, okay, come over here. We're going to go sit over here. And we're going to talk about it over here. And like you move them from the space, you create another space, and you change the whole environment so we
Hmm.
could start a new environment. So,
Nice.
but you got to be intentional with what you want to create out of it and what you want the goal to be. So, if I was
Yeah.
that empathetic parent and then I didn't want the kid to be so sensitive, I'd be like, okay, well, what do I want out of this situation? Well, I want the kid to have fun. I want him to enjoy it with me. I prep everything. So, I would prep it as a parent before we go in. All right, this is fun. If you make a mistake, it doesn't matter. You're going to
Hmm.
make mistakes. So, so you always want to pre talk. And you want to
Hmm.
teach kids self talk, really good self talk to be their own best friend versus their own worst enemy, that
Hmm.
everybody is their own
Yeah,
worst
yeah.
enemy.
So communication then is huge for you. I'm hearing a lot
Huge.
more as you're speaking. Yeah, like
Everything is
really huge.
communication with me. I know, and they
Yeah.
always say, "What kind of a life coach are you?" Because I hate even saying a life coach because so many people are life coaches and they have no criteria. I mean, I have a master's in behavior, so I could say I'm a behaviorist. Or I could say I'm a teacher or whatever. But it's when you take every modality I've ever done boils down to communication. They all do.
Hmm.
They're all down to communication because nothing exists without language. Nothing. We
Yeah.
agree on it, and then this like phone, and you agree it's a phone. But if you didn't agree, then it would be nothing. We'd be like we couldn't even say square because that's a language. So nothing exists without language. So and then we bring things into existence through language that's still very put in a box. So you always want to be kind and say, "Well, what did you think I meant by that?" Or "What did you mean by that?" Or "Explain that to
Hmm.
me." Or "Can you elaborate?" Or "Let me get this straight. Is this what you meant?"
Yeah. So you're both understanding where you're at. So
And
um
self-talk.
so you
Self-talk,
I mean
super important.
yeah, it is. Oh, 100%. I see it all the time. I mean, I hear it in my own head, but obviously I see it a lot in other people as well. And so you obviously so you're doing a lot of different things, and I'm seeing when you have parents in it, I'm seeing sort of bonding is one, I'm seeing communication is another one, and I'm seeing movement. Now, as a like, what are some practical steps that you could choose for like maybe someone that's not in Miami that can't get to your gym, but if someone's elsewhere? What are some practical ways that maybe a parent or dad could use movement, exercise to help with like
Well,
bonding
they
and
should read my
communication?
book. I
Okay,
wrote my book during COVID for that purpose. It was the reason
amazing.
because parents didn't know what to do with their kids and they had them out of school. And then my employee was like, I don't know why these parents think that the schools need to raise their children. But my heart, when I talk about empathy, my heart went out like, oh my God, what are these kids going to do? What are these parents going to do? How are they going to learn? And I knew all the meds are so rampant. So I wrote them because personal development and fitness is not age discriminatory. You could be any age and do personal development and fitness together. So if you're not in Miami, I recommend a parent and kid. People are always like, parents are always like, I don't understand my kid. Well, that's great because you're not speaking the same language. Do something that speaks the same language, like an activity. They need to do bonding stuff together. They can't just drop their kid off and expect to know who their kid is. They have to do stuff together. So my passion is bonding parents and teens through fitness because that's movement, and movement creates stress on the body. And then we speak truth. So there's more truth spoken when they're under stress and competition, and more things get to come out when they're under that. So more things get to bond because of that. So, but my book was set up for a one a day. It's like open to any page and do one a day. It's for kids 11 and up. And on the way to school or on the way home or at the dinner table, a parent can do one with their kid that's going to be for them and the kid. And then the second book, right? Because the
Which book
quality
is
of
that
your
one?
life. Well, the
Which
second
book
book
is
is
that
a
one?
workbook. It's 1,000 questions to ask yourself to become the champion of your own life.
Okay.
So the answers are in the questions. So it's funny. Tony Robbins always says like, "Oh, why am I fat? Because you're a fucking fat pig." He says, because you ask a stupid question. Why am I fat? So don't ask a stupid question, right? So and then what does it take to ask a better question? The best coaches are the best questioners, right? So we study our whole lives to be better questioners. Well, I do. All I do is study like how to come up with a better question. That's what the Bible's all about. That's what God is all right. Is ask the question and get the answer. So I ask 1,000 questions, but for every rule is a set of questions. So like if like this one says, be vigilant, keep your hands up, protect yourself at all times. That's rule 55. And then they'd have a set of questions. It would say, do you know how to protect yourself physically, financially, emotionally, mentally? They can spend a year on one of them, literally. Each question is so embedded. In life, explain your response for each area. So the dad and the kid can ask the kid, do you protect yourself? Well, what does that mean? Well, what does that look like? Do you protect yourself here? Do you, dad? Well, what do you do if it's a joint effort to do at the table? And then there's like 10 of them for every single one. So I think it's so funny when people are like, oh, your book. First of all, I get like $2 a book. I don't even think that. I think like $1.50. I don't, have you written a book?
Yeah, I've got 3 on Amazon. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you get nothing. I mean, oh, it's self-published? You get more? My publisher gets it all. We get nothing.
You get a little bit more, maybe like $3, $4 Canadian.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, but
exactly. You don't
that's
really
not far
write
off.
a
Yeah, yeah.
book to make money. It's not like people always like, I'll buy it to support you. I go, don't buy it to support me because you're not supporting me. You're supporting you. So only buy it because you want the information. It does not support me by buying it at all. I wrote this for the people that can't hire me or doesn't have me next to them to be able to have personal development and less meds in their medicine cabinet. So, because emotional intelligence will prevent them from needing all those meds of ridiculousness. So, and there's 101 rules to being a champion of your life with all the questions. So, I recommend a parent, whether they do my book, do something together, learn together, move together,
Yeah.
be at the dinner table together, don't be on your phones together. They always wonder like, how did I get here? Well, I'll give you a list of how you got there. So, like how did my kid get like this? Well, sit down, I'll break it down for you. But if we want to talk about the past, we can start breaking it down. Or if we want to talk about what we're going to do now to move into the future, we can go there. And me as a life
Yeah.
coach, that's why I still call myself a life coach versus a behaviorist or a therapist or what, because I don't really care to dig into the past so much. I'm going to ask the questions I need to ask and I'm going to move you forward quick. I do hypnosis, I do timelining, I do a lot. Whatever tool is in my box that I need to do to get you where I need you to go for what your issue is.
Yeah. So I mean, let's put one here. I mean, I know there's things I use, but I want to see your opinion as well. So I do know like children bring in emotion. I think that's one of the most beautiful things actually, I think for dads is that children bring emotion, and it's easier for a dad to deal with emotion if he knows it's going to help his child. I think it gives them some allowance. But it can be, I find for men, if they're not used to emotions and regulating, that it can be overwhelming for them. That's generally why they might want to disappear and go on their own somewhere. So what are some ways that you would recommend, like maybe 2 or 3 that are usually pretty effective for most people for helping dads to kind of manage their own stress and show up more fully for their kids?
I mean, it sucks, right? Because they didn't get the help they needed. Just hearing you say that,
Yeah.
it irritates me because I need to help the dad because the dad didn't learn correctly, right? So there's no book. well, there is books, but like that manual that you get when you birth a child, when you have a child.
Yeah.
So they're doing the best they can with what they have, and they're just doing what they know. But if you know
Hmm.
better, you do better. So we got to get them to know better. So what are the things they need help? They need to ask for
Hmm.
help. So call me, call a coach, read a book, get some advice on what to do because what they're doing is not working.
Hmm.
So they need help. They need to admit that what they're doing is not helping. Some dads think that's great. No, I'm going to yell at my kid. I have parents that think that's okay. That that's
Hmm.
how they, I'm not their parent, but I tell them, listen, I'm going to send them home and you mess it all up. So unless you're having your kid move into my gym, you're
Hmm.
ruining the stuff when I send them home. So I get very
Hmm.
forward with people. I don't think a lot of people are okay with getting so straight in their talk. So, right, and different strokes
Well,
for different folks.
people are very used to kind of hiding behind a bit of a facade,
Yeah,
right? So it's
but
it's it's
those men
unusual.
that you're
So
saying, what do the men do? They have to
yeah,
want to
yeah.
know that what they're doing is not correct.
Hmm.
If you don't want help and you're going to keep doing what you do, then you're going to keep getting what you get. So they have to be willing to listen and know what's wrong and and sometimes they might not. I was coaching this teenager that was, oh, such a mess. And she was on these meds. And these teenagers now are threatening their parents that they're going to kill themselves. So the parents are like freaking out that the kids are going to kill themselves. So they end up kissing their ass even more. And the dad gave me her to coach. And, so I'm going to ask a million questions and get down to the nitty gritty. And what I found was she was eating such crap. So it was the crap that was causing her moods. And the dad was like, he's not going to agree with me. He's like, oh, big deal. She eats Takis at 2 in the morning, whatever her chips were that she was eating at 2 in the morning. And until he's going to listen, until he's going to believe me, keep giving her your chemicals that you think is low dose and this big and no big deal, but her bag of chips is no big deal, but that little thing also no big deal. So I
Hmm.
work on reframing things as best as I can for them to hear me and listen and get to the impact of it. So
Yeah,
if
yeah.
those guys were in my space, they would get to the impact of it and hear it. So they got to want help and find, you go to the best to get what you need to get. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know
as
if they'll
well.
get it if they don't have me or someone with a straight talk that's going to tell them that does not work for your child. They're
Yeah,
like,
yeah, I
look at the
agree with
whole
you.
school system. They're continuing to mess things up. The school system knows it doesn't work, and they keep doing what doesn't work. So that's complete insanity. I would never put
Yeah.
my kid in these schools, ever, ever, ever.
Yeah, well, I think that's, I mean, going back to Layla, I think that's the reason they created their own school, right? Was for that
A
reason
hundred
to
percent.
create.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, 100%. Everything she does, we align completely. I love it. She's amazing. We need a million of her.
Hmm.
Um, she's a blessing. There's a bunch
Yeah.
of schools like that though. She's not the only one.
Okay.
She's not the only
Yeah.
one. There's a bunch. Acton and Alpha and so many are coming up and are
Okay.
getting the clue that fitness and emotional intelligence is where it's at. Like you
Amazing.
could Google anything. No one needs to learn information anymore.
No, no, it's you don't really.
The only
We
thing
don't
that
really. We
hasn't
don't
changed
have
with the
excuses.
times is school. Everything else
That's true.
shifts except school.
Yeah. 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 I agree with you. I mean, my daughter's home educated, so um, obviously, so we have a different path that way. But it's yeah, she also wasn't a massive fan of the regular school system. So
Yeah. So these dads that you're talking about, they need to watch your podcast and start taking notes, right? Get some of the books they're hearing to get and start ask ChatGPT, this is what happens and my
yeah,
kid's doing this and I'm doing this. Like they need help themselves.
they do. Yeah, I think. I mean, as a guy, I mean, I started on this quite a while ago, but I think as a guy, sometimes they need role models, and I think we're starting to see more people coming out now and being able to speak openly, and that with time maybe that creates some allowing, but it's always down to your own it's your own choice, right? Like you have to make your own, you have to stand on your own 2 feet and make your own choices, whether where you are, which is miserable and unhappy, is where you want to stay, or if you want to change, you have to kind of face a bunch of this stuff and move on, right?
Well, and where you came from doesn't have to be where you're going. So a lot of these
Yeah.
dads that you're talking about grew up that way. That's
Mm-hmm.
what they're only doing what they knew from growing up. So, but just
Yeah.
because they grew up that way doesn't mean it's the right way and doesn't mean that's what they have to continue to do. And if it's
Yeah.
not working, it's definitely what they should continue to do.
Yeah. So like when you're in the gym and stuff, like I mean, this will be same for dads and children, but is breath one of the main things you take children to if they come overwhelmed with emotions, or what's kind of your go-to, or again, is it different per child? Is that different for you,
God,
or
I wish I could capture people for 500 hours and hold them down because, it's like I want to teach them breath. I want to teach them. People are like, oil whore. Like I love essential oils. And then people are like, well, why don't you
Okay.
share it? Why don't you teach it? And people
Mm.
discredit it. They think you're crazy. So they don't realize the depth. I think it's so funny that people go get a candy bar or all these drugs and food and no big deal. They'll say, no big deal. It's only little, only that, only not that bad. But then the breath work that makes a world of difference, that'll be like 2 seconds. They're like, oh, it can't really work. They discredit the things
Mm.
that really work that are simple. And then the things that are sabotaging them then completely are like no big deal. So, but yes, I have them all take a deep breath. All right, how does that feel? Okay, well, that was two
Mm.
seconds. Can you do that again next time? So, yes,
Mm.
I do incorporate breath work, but I'm constantly letting people know about meditation and breath work. And I talk a lot about it on my videos to let them know that when they're not doing it, they're doing it. Like when they think they suck and they think they're trying, that they're doing it to keep sitting there and trying. And I let people know, movies, fairy tales, they ruin things. Social media, everyone should stay off TV and screens because,
Mm.
you see in the fairy tale, like Disney ruined it for kids. They think like, oh, the comes and saves you, and everyone wants to get saved. So, and really, they should be, instead of watching all that stuff, practice breath work, practice meditation. And that's why you say, like, Layla has the Zen corner and the go
Mm.
meditate. And we need to start them. A lot of kids are starting early and meditate. We need it, right?
Mm.
It's a do or die type of thing right now because our food's so bad and because the world's so fast. They're going to go stir crazy if they don't disconnect. We're on like dopamine chaos is going on right now. So they
Yeah.
either hear from me, hear from someone, do it or don't do it, and be scattered forever and be on meds. That's the goal,
Yeah.
right? Food and drug is ruling the world. Eat the food, need the drug. So
Yeah, it's
health is
huge. I
in your
got.
own. We started this conversation with you saying that, the pharmacy we make, our nervous system makes a pharmacy 3 times the amount of any pharmacy could ever make. So we have, I think, like 1,400 chemicals the body makes. Every thought, everything we think produces chemicals in the body. People
Yeah.
don't realize that because there's a delay. Just like for everything,
Yeah.
there's a delay. What I do today, I might not see for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So you got to just do it and stay the course. Just like when you
Yeah.
eat a chocolate bar, you don't look in the mirror and you're fat. And when you go to the gym and you work out, you don't see results. So you got to stay the course and know what works and stay with it and be consistent.
Yeah, so but I mean, Wim Hof has shown that through. I mean, he's one of the ones that's done. He's shown sort of pain chemicals and stuff, obviously through a lot of his work. And but it's just what we said there. So we basically like there's an element of this where people are stuck and they're like stuck in an outdated idea, basically. So when you have someone that is maybe stuck in their own ways, what's your? I know you're very direct. Is that usually your way to kind of get them to shift?
I mean, I don't know, like outdated ideas, but the one thing I use to get people to shift all the time is, how's that working for you? Like, are you
Yeah.
coming to me for change? Or are you coming to me to just spill the beans? Because I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not interested in small talk. Like, I don't just talk to people. I talk to people for a change. I'm super, I wouldn't say super, everyone thinks I'm like Miss Social because I'm only here to serve. But I don't know. You see, I meditate all the time. I'm super quiet and always meditating if I'm not serving. So I'm just here to serve. So I don't really want to listen to your shit unless I'm here to solve it. So I just want to solve it, make a difference, move you forward. So if they're like, oh, it's not a big deal, it seems that, okay, well, is it working? Then why are you telling me? If it's working, don't tell me about it. That good for you. Love that it works. If it's not working, are you willing to make a change? So I always ask people, do you want me to help you or do you want me to listen? Are you willing to make a change or are you willing to make a shift? Are you going to keep doing what you do or do you want to do something different? So I ask, right? Everything's in the questions. So
Yeah.
that's how they listen and that's how they shift. And I'm very assertive. So, especially when it comes to what I know, I'm not going to be assertive with computers or structure or things that I'm not good at. Then I'll go, okay, let me listen. But when I know and I've been doing it for so long with results that work, I'm going to say, listen or don't listen and we don't need to talk. You go to someone else. I'm only here to serve. So
Yeah.
they're going to shift. I've transformed, I used to say tens of thousands, but I'd say hundreds of thousands, like crazy amount of people. And I do it fast because I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
So I know what to say and I have the timing. And it's like a boxer, right? You hit them exactly at the right moment. That's why I'm so grateful
Mm-hmm.
for boxing because that's how my speech is. It's like right there when it needs it. And so many people go, I can't believe Jolie just said that. My whole staff will be like, I can't believe Jolie just said that. Well, you can't say that, but I got it with the timing. So I knew when to say what I needed to say to make a shift. And that's all that mattered. So sometimes I say crazy things, but I had an opening and a moment where it was going to make an impact. So I knew what was going to land over there. So I'm very intentional with my timing and my landing, and I'll wait for the appropriate moment because I want to connect. I want the result. I'm not going to just tell you to tell you. I'm going to tell you when you hear me.
Do you think, from your perspective, do you feel that's a very intuitive gift that you've got, or like skill that you've got, or is it something that you've learned?
I mean, I think if someone followed in my exact footsteps and learned exactly what I learned, they wouldn't, I don't want to say they wouldn't do it as good as me. So I have to say some is part, I would say it's not really intuitive. It's more a result of my upbringing. So because of my stories and because of what happened to me, I found what I needed to, I'd say it's all God, right? It's like God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. I've been called to serve in such a way and disrupt in such a way and educate in such a way where it's not intuitive. It's just God. It's I'm aligned with what I'm supposed to do. So when you're in alignment, authenticity is the highest level of frequency, higher than love, higher than joy. So I'm very authentic when I'm doing it. I'm very aligned and I'm very just aligned, authentic, and intentional. I'm very right there with it. So you could call it everything. You could call it intuitive, God, I learned, I know. I'm like right on point. And when you're on point and on the mark, it's like move out of the way because this is happening. So, and that's what I make sure. And I'm very passionate with the parents and the kids. Very. I'm so upset about the schools and the drugs these kids are on. So I just like to make a shift. I really like to save kids and parents from putting their kids on meds.
That's amazing.
There's no toxic pill that helps the issue. You're putting toxins in your body and expecting to heal. It might like put a Band-Aid on something, but then you rip the Band-Aid off and it's still there. So I like to do things through diet, through health, through mind, body, and soul.
Amazing. Okay. So I think we've covered like a huge amount of stuff. I did want to share some of your stuff. So I know that your websites, I've got them written in here, but there's southbeachboxing.com. Okay, so jolieglassman.com and southbeachboxing.com. Where can they get your books?
Well, if they want a signed copy, they can go on my website and I send them a signed copy, or they go on Amazon and order it anywhere.
Okay. And if someone is in Miami, can they just drop into your place, or do they have to book in?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. People come from all over the world. I sell probably the most books out of my gym, which I love. I love signing them and I love giving them to people.
I want to stress as well that I watch your Instagram and your lives and stuff quite a bit, is that it's a very broad spectrum of people in there. It's not what I'd see as a regular boxing community, actually, from people that I know in the UK. It's a very, like, there's such a broad spectrum of people in there, and it looks very inclusive, and there's kids around in there. Your dog is in there, I see, cute as anything, running around.
I am huge with having it your way, like Burger King, not Burger King, but I love people to have it. I love people. When I was growing up, teachers always said to me, oh, you want it your way? I'd be like, yeah, don't you want it your way? And I always had like a mouth to respond to them, respectful, but I'd be like, yeah, who doesn't want it their way? Like, why would I not want it my way? If my way sucks, then I'll do it your way. But if my way works, let me do it. So I have a teaching style like that, where I always ask the kid, how do you want to do it? How does it look for you? Oh, okay, you want to do it that way? Let's do that. Like, I let everyone be the boss of them. So that's why my gym is so eclectic and so welcoming, and I'm at the front. I answer every call. I'm very obsessed with my members, and I have it 30 years. So our reputation speaks for us. Everybody anywhere in these areas, they either know the gym, been to the gym, and everyone has something good to say about it. We have a very good reputation, and it's because it's authentic. I love the people. I love them, and I love having them leave better than when they got there. That's the whole goal.
Amazing. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and for your wisdom and your energy. You're infectious to chat to. And then for any sort of dads that are listening, like, just remember to, that strength is a bit more than muscle. Yeah, your books. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and what I'll do, when I post this, we'll put kind of the descriptions underneath. But I think one of the best places to go to your website, jolieglassman.com. I know that everything's kind of listed on there.
And I
So yeah,
respond to any message. Anyone can write me or message me. I'm in everything. It's my, I always say, I teach people to live like you're retired. People always say, live like you're dying. I'm like, that's so stupid. You'll jump off a mountain or something and do something. I say, live like you're retired, because what is retired? Like, don't work. So I do exactly what I would do every single day of my life that I would do for free. There's never a
amazing.
day that I don't do what I would do for free.
Thank you so much, Jolie. It was amazing.
Thank you, Simon.